A 13-hands-high Korean mare named Sgt Reckless fought beside the 2nd Battalion, 5th Marine during the Korean War. The horse triumphed through injuries, treacherous terrain, and heavy artillery fire. In the tragedy of the Korean War, Sgt Reckless raised the Marines' morale and kept the soldiers looking into the future by performing heroic deeds to benefit the division. In 1945, World War II ended after a brutal 6 years of destructive warfare. In Asia, the Korean peninsula would be split. The Soviet Union supported the North, and the United States provided aid to the South. With tension rising in the Cold War, the world was once again looking at conflict. And just 5 years later, this came true. On June 25, 1950, North Korea, supported by the Soviet Union, invaded South Korea in an attempt to unify the peninsula. In the first month, the North pushed far into the South. However, with the entry of the United States into the conflict, the Allied forces pushed the North back nearly to the Chinese border. When China soon entered the conflict, the North was able to repel the Allied forces. A long stalemate ensued, and for the rest of the war, there would be little movement until the Battle of Outpost Vegas. In March 1953, the Chinese army launched an attack on key outposts, named for Nevada cities, which included Vegas. The Chinese were hoping to further their position and gain more territory for the North before a ceasefire. Just 4 months before the armistice, it was reported to be the bloodiest battle in the Korean War. The horse that would become known as Sgt Reckless was raised as a racehorse in South Korea. She was strong for her small body. She knew how to fight from a young age. Kim Hug-moon, a racehorse jockey who owned a Mongolian chestnut-colored mare with the blaze and 3 white stockings, had named her Flame. When the Korean War broke out, Moon packed up all the supplies he could fit in a cart and escaped far to the south to Busan, fleeing the advancing invading North Korean army. At the Han River, Kim unhooked Flame, and one by one, the horse carried 2 people across the rapidly moving water. Flame returned to help Kim cross the cart. Flame was at the point of exhaustion, and her legs shook. It was 2 years until they would return home again. When Kim's sister lost her leg to a landmine, he was forced to look for ways to pay for a prosthetic leg. The only valuable possession he owned was his horse. In October 1952, Kim headed to the track to get some laps on Flame. As she ran, American troops gathered to watch. Later, 4 American soldiers returned in a jeep pulling a horse trailer. Lieutenant Eric Pedersen purchased Flame for $250 of his own money. She was renamed Reckless after the recoilless rifle for which she would be trained to carry ammunition in the recoilless rifle platoon. The cannon was dubbed the Reckless Rifle because it was so dangerous to handle. Pedersen ordered Technical Sergeant Joe Latham to put her through hoof camp. Latham worked with her daily for nearly a month. He trained her to come when he whistled. Latham walked through the hills, showing her how to master barbed wire and security fences. He taught her how to hit the deck when they were under enemy fire. They soon discovered she could carry 8 rounds of recoilless rifle ammunition and canisters without any trouble. The Marines learned to love Reckless and began treating her as one of their own. They built Reckless a bunker and fenced in a small pasture for her. Reckless showed affection to the Marines and learned to love the food and the beer the Marines would feed her. In her first taste of battle at Outpost Bunker in November 1952, Reckless delivered 5 loads of ammunition from camp to the firing line. Reckless began to understand her job and could accomplish it by herself. After one guided trip, she would know where to go. In each combat situation, her life was repeatedly put at risk. Some Marines believe she had an angel riding her. One of these men was Sergeant Harold Wadley.
There's that mare of the Reckless Rifles, and she's not going to live long. I thought she's never going to see daylight. And I told the guys, I said, it has to be an angel riding that mare. Of course, I was a ranch kid. I knew what the horses should be able to do. And I said, only an angel has to be riding her. There's no way she's going to live through this. And she did.
Reckless is most known for her efforts in the Battle of Outpost Vegas in March 1953. A total of 14,000 artillery shells assaulted Vegas, fired by the Chinese making a last grab for more territory. The 1st Marine Division and one horse stood in their way. The enemy had an early advantage. The trail to the ammunition supply crossed a steep hill, and after a descent, Latham was waiting where he strapped 8 canisters to Reckless, a total of 192 pounds of ammunition that she would have to carry back over the steep terrain. Latham pointed the way, and Reckless pushed up the hill to the guns. At the top, she navigated her way through a windy 250-foot long trail. On Reckless's 21st ammo delivery, the team was unloading her packs when there was a blast next to them. Latham threw her jacket over Reckless and kept her calm. Reckless's hard work and perseverance in keeping the ammunition stocked was evident in that one of the barrels of the guns had melted. The battle was so fierce that Marines witnessed shells colliding mid-air, lighting up the night sky. Reckless had been wounded twice, in the flank and in the forehead, and because of these injuries, she was awarded 2 Purple Hearts. After the war, Reckless was officially promoted to Staff Sergeant Reckless. This honor had never been bestowed on any other war animal before or since. Reckless was flown from Korea to Japan, where she would be shipped to the States. She was to be kept at Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, and all the money raised from her public appearances would go to families of deceased platoon members. After a long and most unusual life, Sergeant Reckless died on May 13, 1968. She had suffered injuries from a fall on barbed wire, the exact thing she was trained to navigate during her war days. The Korean War is often referred to as the Forgotten War, but the consequences were just as deadly as any other war. There were over 1,000 American casualties in the battle for Outpost Vegas, each of them an individual tragedy. Hundreds of men received Purple Hearts because of their injuries sustained during the 2-day battle. Despite the obstacles faced by the 1st and 5th Marine Divisions in the daunting battlefields of Korea, Reckless was the morale booster for the men in her unit.
It was because the Marines had become her herd, and horses are herd animals, and they will follow the herd anywhere. And she would do anything for them because they were her herd.
With Reckless's positive effect on the men, she also dramatically affected the war. With her strong body and willpower, she was able to carry more ammo than any man could carry. But more importantly, she carried several wounded men down the hill at Outpost Vegas, saving their lives. Today, a statue stands at Camp Pendleton as a reminder of all the men that had fallen during the Korean War, but specifically the special little mare named Sgt Reckless. Reckless stands for the men who were never found, the men who were killed, and the men who survived the horrific war. Reckless is a reminder to all Marines forever that no matter the size or ability of an animal or person, they are part of something bigger than themselves.